Rock and roll, guys. I'll behave.
Sure you will. Sure you will.
All right.
Bye.
Well, I just want to make sure.
Disclosure coming up.
You guys.
Yes, please.
So let me tell you guys a funny story. So wait, hold on a second. Well, let me do this first. I wanna hold on. I'm getting an echo here. Hello, check. You guys still there?
Yes, we're here.
Check.
Okay. All right. So I want to share a little video clip. And let's see if I can do this for the crew. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Good evening. What an evening. Been kind of crazy. So this is one of my let's look at the ad first for Carvana. Let's skip through that first. And one of my favorite movies is this movie called Liar Liar. Have you guys seen this movie?
You bet. All
yes.
Jim Carrey movies, classics.
Yeah, totally. And this is about a guy who can't tell the truth. And then his son makes a wish, and he starts telling the truth. And he's pretty much saying everything that normal people think, and he actually says it out loud. It's pretty hilarious. So tonight we're going to be talking about why patients lie to their chiropractors. Okay, and it's a pretty interesting scenario because we're going to find out by the end of tonight that they're not really lying to you. They don't tell you these things for a specific reason. Before we get into that, though. Probably noticed my setting is a little different. Have you guys noticed my setting?
Tell us the story.
Okay.
Why you're at home?
So it's like 80 degrees in Chicago. It's beautiful weather, and I had all this like junk in the trunk of the convertible because we had master class last week. So I had all the lighting and stuff. I was like, oh, I got to bring all that stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take the convertible out, just open it up a little bit. So I get all the way there, and I realize my key for my office is not on my keychain for the convertible. So I get there, I'm like, oh. Can't get into my office, so I rush back, and now we're doing it this way. So
this is
that's
reality.
My story.
This is the true life of what It's what we do. We got offices. We got we're rolling around. So good for you for just making it happen. You know what I mean?
Thanks. I totally wrapped this one together. I've never done this at home.
Awesome.
Jen, your picture's crooked behind you.
Seriously, that's
really
bothering the shit out of me, man.
We can't do this. This is screw this.
You know what? No, we're gonna cancel the whole evening.
Just tilt your head a little bit.
Well, this one.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Perfect.
Disclaimer.
All right, let's do this. All right.
On you this week, Jen.
So we're going to talk about why patients lie to their chiropractors, and actually any healthcare provider for that matter. But before I get going, I do want to pre-frame this call and this show for you guys tonight. I want to let you guys know by the end of tonight, you're going to have some due-level actionable stuff that you're going to be able to put into play in your practices as soon as you get back in terms of how you communicate with your patients, what to say, what not to say. And that is your payoff for being on with us. Also, I want to let you know that at the end, we're going to give away some really, really cool things. And we realize that we can give away a lot of recordings and stuff, but nothing beats the gift of time. So the three of us are donating our time to 3 lucky people that are going to be with us at the end of this call. And we're going to get on the phone with you. And the questions that we get is, the patient says this, what do I say? And actually, it's a difficult conversation to have unless we're on the phone with you and we get the exact scenario and we help you guys out. So for example, we have a person that called and said, I have a prenatal practice, or I have a specific, I only take care of fertility patients, etc. Those things require tweaks. And the only way to do that is to individualize the attention that we give you guys. So at the end of this, we're going to give our time away to 3 people. And if that's something that you guys are into, just start with the comments and say, hey, I'm really into that, so give it to me, or something like that. Let us know that we're coming through loud and clear as well. That would really be helpful. Also, at the end of the call, we're going to also give you some free stuff as well for all the other people. So it pays to hang out because, yes, we're bribing you so that we can train you on properly handling your new patient so that you can get the less you can get the yes with less stress. I swear. I actually, that is our tagline. I do know it. I promise. All right. So guys, again, Daniel Bay here with Close for Chiro. On the line with me are my favorite compadres. These guys are the ninjas in closing. So introduce yourselves and we get going.
Hey, it's Jen Rosenhart.
And Sean Rundle. Thanks for being on, guys. Let's get down to business.
Let's do it. All right. So here we go. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about the first thing. First of all, patients don't really lie. They don't come into your offices and say, you know what? I'm going to lie to my chiropractor. I mean this thing, but I actually am going to say this thing. Patients don't actually do that. What they're actually doing is they're not sharing, and they're minimizing. So I want to go over the concept of minimizing for you guys, and we talked about this before, but you cannot be stressed enough. And the concept goes like this: is that all your patients minimize. Why? Because if they minimize, and if they actually come out with the truth, the blaring truth, they know upfront consciously they need to spend time, energy, and money to correct this problem. Many people do not want to admit that right off the bat. Think about the times that there's something wrong in your life that you did not want to admit right away, a fear that you had to invest time, energy, and money. Okay, so that's number one. So minimizers, your patients come in minimizing. Essentially, they're hiding their problem behind their back, and they don't trust you enough to really bear all. Now, you guys can all relate to this, right? I mean, would you just tell anyone and everyone your deepest, darkest, things that make you feel vulnerable, things that make you feel like, if I tell this person, they may think less of me? No, you don't do that to everyone. So that you're going to pick and choose your spots when you share that type of information, and your patients are no different. So how do you know you have a minimizer? Well, first of all, they're going to use certain phraseology, certain terms, and it goes something like this. I mean, let's say you're doing an exam and you're palpating a spinous process that is swollen like a melon, and you barely push on it, and the person goes, ow, ow, and then you say something like, oh, is that sensitive or tender? And they go, you know what? No, not really. It's just a little bit. Okay, they'll use those terms, not that bad, not really, only sometimes, only when, and that's how you know you have a minimizers. Minimizing is a very common psychological reflex that a lot of people have. So they're not so much lying to you, they're minimizing, okay? So how do you handle the minimizer? First of all, what we used to teach, you guys remember back in the day, we used to teach, pretty much we call them out on minimizing. That's how we used to do it. This was only like 3 or 4 years ago. So when we say minimize, we would have like an anti-minimizing canon. And it was a lot of fun teaching that stuff because it was just so in your face, it was blatant. But as you all know, the market has changed. So we can't do that anymore. We have to be handle with a little bit more care. So this is how I handle a minimizer. If someone says, only a little bit, maybe sometimes, really what I say is, you know what, Jen, help me out here. I just really need a yes or no answer. Can you help me out with that? It's a kind of a doctor thing, and that's what I say, but conceptually understand you must deal in absolutes, okay? You can't deal in minimizing. You can't deal in kind of, maybe, sort of, sometimes. You have to deal with specific yes or no responses. It is your job clinically to get that information, number one, but number two, it gives your patient the opportunity to get that problem more to the surface so that both of you can handle it. The reason I say that is because if you're on a day 2 and you're about to close this up and make your recommendations, if you allowed your patients to minimize for the entire whole time, your odds of closing go down based on your recommendations because they do not see the true gravity of their situation. And that's the biggest problem on that. You guys have anything else on minimizing?
I would just add that often doctors, we are often minimizers as well when it comes to addressing our prospect in front of us. Is that they can say, oh, so it's when you're going through a day 2 and explaining, oh, on an x-ray, oh, this is kind of sort of subluxation, maybe has some degeneration. We have to take just as much control over our minimizing statements. And I will actually notice it more in everyday life as well, how rampant it is. And then as doctors, we have to take control of that and really get our language dialed in so that we're not doing that and minimizing subluxation, minimizing our patient's problem. Because the more we do that, the more absolutely that just blows the close and the chances for a great close.
For sure.
Well, we're actually smart because one thing that we got to do before we even get to the minimizer is that we can set things up so they don't minimize. So, Sean, let's go over rapport because you are the rapport master. Because a lot of this stuff can be set up properly up front before even what I talked about, and especially what Jen talked about. And I want to punctuate that is a lot of the times the doctors are minimizing. You guys don't want to. You want to be empathetic, and it's not completely your fault. We were brought up to be non-confrontational and ease people's minds, and and then that's not being a doctor. I mean, if someone has a D4 disc and the nerve is essentially choked off and they're having all these problems, it's your job to let them know that's the truth. A lot of times our need to be liked overrides it, and we minimize it for them. Of course, giving them the permission to minimize it as well. So, Sean, start us out with the rapport building as it pertains to minimizing, please.
Yeah, sure. And let's keep in mind, one of the reasons, the main reasons why they minimize too is the feelings of guilt, and they have feelings of guilt because they know they should have taken care of this problem. They don't want to face or own up to it. So there's more anxiety for them in telling the truth than there is in the lie, or not giving you or disclosing to you what's going on. So just keep that in mind. So how do we break that down? How do we get the patient to truly open up and feel comfortable in your office so that you can gain the information that you need in order to build a case for this patient buying care and accepting you as the doc? So understand this. Look at rapport, as we call this, the oil that drives the engine of persuasion. What has to happen is your patient actually has to qualify you to be within their circle of trust so that they can open up to you. And when they open up, now, docs, is where you're going to really find out the real reason why they're in your office. And it's not because of pain. You've heard us say this over and over, but you won't find this out until you do open up with rapport. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 3 ways to establish rapport. So get your pens out, write this down. 3 ways that you can start the rapport process. And by the way, it has to happen the very moment you meet this patient. You are starting the rapport process. If you wait halfway through your consult, it's too late. So guys, the most important thing when that new patient steps into your office is to start the rapport process. Now, you have to find, one of the things in building rapport is to find a commonality. And I know Tony Robbins describes this or talks about this as the law of attraction. What attracts these 2 people together? What bonds them so that they can share in their experience? So here we go. Step number one, I call this the pre-rapport intel. So what I mean by that is as soon as you have your new patient in the lobby and your staff has given them the forms and they're filling out, that is your key to go in and introduce yourself as the doctor. And your whole goal here is to really start taking in as much information as you can in regards to your new patient. So what does that mean? I want to know, are they talkative? Are they outspoken? Are they shy or quiet? What kind of personality am I going to be dealing with? That way I can better mirror that when we're in the consult. Take notice of their appearance. Do they have tattoos? Are they wearing a logo or a hat that says a school on it? Is there anything else, information that you can gain that you're going to use to drive the conversation when you first sit down with them in your consult? That's where the rapport is going to happen. So you're establishing some rapport now in order to use it later when the real rapport process is in full effect. The other thing I want you to do is when you get when you have to go out and meet your new patient is I want you, the doctor, to come out and get that new patient and you walk them back yourself. I don't want you having your CAs do this because it's a disconnect. One of the things that patients are so concerned with was when the CA, and this is like in your typical medical office too, when the CA or the nurse puts them in the room, slams the door, and they're wondering, how long am I going to be here? They're looking at their watch, they're looking at the clock, and just time seems to stand still for them. So this avoids any of that anxiety for them during this first visit. Now, what I like to do is the walk from my lobby to my consult, my exam room, is literally like 10 steps. So I'll make a joke. I'll say, hey, I hope you brought some water because we've got a really long walk. And before I even get that out of my mouth, we're already in the room. And what that does is it gets them laughing. And if you can get them laughing, you're going to have a great relationship. It just opens up the door to building that rapport. All right, so that's number one, the pre-rapport intel, going out to your lobby, introducing yourself, maybe acknowledge the referral, take some intel in, and then you take him back into the exam. Number 2, the whole objective of the rapport is to get your patient talking about themselves. So what that means is, yeah, you can initiate and you can engage, but the idea is to get them talking about themselves, making them feel that they are the absolute most important person in the world, and whatever they say just so happens to be the most interesting thing that you've ever heard. So usually the best way to do this is usually through occupation, and people love to be recognized. And this is your opportunity to really lift someone up and make them feel important and make them feel comfortable without the bullshit. But you do this very strategically. So let's say, Jen, you come into my office and you are a hairstylist. And so a lot of times people don't really give hairstylists, a whole lot of credit. They don't really, it's not really one of those professions that they hold up all high and mighty, but they should be, because what they do is very, it's an art. So what I'll say to my patients, I say, Jen, so I see here you're a hairstylist. How long have you been doing that?
About 10 years or so.
You know what? I don't think people appreciate just the artistry that you guys employ. You really are like artists with those scissors and I think you call them shears. And the way you just can take a head of hair and just mold it, make a masterpiece out of it. And then you guys are like chemists, because you go back in your little chemistry lab back there and you mix the colors up. You got to get it just perfect. I don't think people really understand. I mean, how important what you do is, and just the how much they appreciate what you do. But let me ask you something. Everybody has their different thing. What do you like? Are you more of a cut and style? Are you more of a color? What's your thing, Jen?
Oh, I love color. That's where the big money is, color, custom color.
Oh yeah,
weaving, balayage. I don't know all these words. Yeah, those things.
Awesome, Jen. That's great. Well, hey, listen. So let's get down to work. What brings you in today? So guys, there's your rapport. What I did is I just made this hairdresser, this hairstylist, just really lift her up and make her feel important. I got her to talk about what she likes. Not one time did I mention anything about me. And that's the objective here. Keep your pie hole shut, guys. We just talk way too much. And there's a quote I'm going to give you right now. One of the secrets to having a high percentage of closes is you listen them into the close rather than talking them into the close. The more you can listen, they are telling you everything that you need to know. But half the time you guys are jabbering too much and you're just completely missing what it is that they're giving you, the information that will lead them to the close on day 2. All right. So let me see. Oh, the other thing on that too is make sure you can share in a story. You get a golfer. Oh, I golf too. What's your handicap? Oh, I'm a 10. Oh yeah, well, I'm an 8. Never be the one-upper. Never do something or share with somebody that you can do or that you did great or better than them, because all that does is just crush the rapport, and it just puts all the emphasis and attention on you, and that's not the purpose of the objective of rapport. All right? So don't minimize who and what they are, what they do, and don't be a one-upper on them. All right, now number 3, the last one, practice, practice, practice. I can't stress this enough. You don't have to be the most extroverted personality, the one that, the life of the party. Your goal is really to get them talking. So what I do is anytime you're out, whether you're in line at Starbucks or you're sitting on an airplane or wherever your Uber driver, find a way to get them talking about themselves. Practice. Find out what's important to them. Find out what makes them tick. Make them feel good. Because here's the deal, guys. If you can establish rapport, what that does is it opens up the trust factor. Now they can trust you. And if they trust you, now they feel good or they feel comfortable giving you information that they would normally withhold or they would lie to you about. So, and not really lying, but they just don't feel comfortable enough. I don't know you well enough to give you the information that you need. This is how you get it, and it's through proper rapport building. Bonding equals it will influence trust. Then you build that relationship, and as soon as you see their comfort level going up, they will open up to you. And so awesome. That's the key. And guys, I will just close with this. I can't stress how important rapport is in the beginning of this relationship. And it doesn't end on day 1. You're going to continually build rapport. And that's what we teach you guys in the master class, and as how to continually build rapport day after day. So all you're doing is strengthening that relationship. That's how you keep patients around, compliant to their program. And it's also how you build a high PVA. So there you go, guys. There's your 3 things for rapport. Pre-rapport intel, Get them talking about themselves, and then practice, practice, practice.
It really is a matter of practice, isn't it, guys? I mean, it's something like that doesn't come naturally. It's so crazy.
Well, it's a skill set, Dan. It's absolutely a skill set. It's not something you're born with. You do have to work at it.
It's crazy. I mean, and the fact that once you understand it is a skill set, then you start practicing it. Before we go into further, I just want to say hi to a couple of people. Jean-Marc in the house. We got Tim Dunn. David, hello. We got Ty Hall in the house. Andrew Peon, what up, buddy? Rodney McGinley.
New grads.
That's
awesome.
right. Mark Loveliner trying to come in for another win. John Banniger.
Yeah, there you go.
The winner.
That's all right. Marcos Page, hello from Florida. What's up? Adeline, hello. Eric in the house. We got Felipe. We got from all the way from Brazil. What time is it? Like 2 a.m. over there, dude. Nicole Lindsay from Market Domination joining us. You guys aren't following her. You guys gotta follow her. Gene Fish in the house, and Kevin Morey, and a lot others. So thanks for joining us, too, guys. If you guys are just joining us now, we're gonna be choosing 3 people to give our time to. That's a consult. That's essentially a coaching call on how to deal with your specific objections that you're getting in your office. If you guys want that, we're tallying names for the raffle. So go ahead and just put down, put me in the drawing in the comment section so that we know we can add you to it. So at the end, we can draw your name if you are a lucky winner. So go ahead and do that for us right now. Awesome. And then while you're at it, just let us know where you're calling in from, who you are, all that good jazz. We love interacting with you guys on these as well. All right, so moving on. Let's talk about complaint. By the way, there's a really cliche term here in sales. It's called buyers or liars. And this has been around forever. And, people have talked about this forever. This is essentially what they're saying. What we're saying is that, they lie not because they're trying to be deceitful. They lie and they don't tell the upfront truth because of what you are doing. So the responsibility is on you. Please do not get into the knee-jerk reflex of someone that doesn't tell you exactly what their problem is, or they withhold information, that you blame them. That is that headspace is absolutely for losers, and you will continually suck at a day one, day two if you continually put the responsibility on them. It is your responsibility to do all the right things so that they open up, they trust you, and they give you the information that you need to close. Okay? So Jen, what you got for us?
Well, there's a couple things that I want to go through. One of the things where patients show up as lying, or what doctors fall into this habit of, is listening to actually what their patients say. Now, it's different from what Sean was saying earlier about listening them into the close, but it's listening to their complaints. It's listening to their what they first give you when they walk in. So patients saying, oh, I've been to a chiropractor before. I don't really want a long plan. Or I just want to do what my insurance will cover. That's all I want to do. Or you've heard these before, right? Some other complaint. I don't want to be here forever. Whatever they are, and a lot of doctors get sucked into this and let it mess with their headspace. I call this another new patient lie, because I'm just here checking you out. Yeah, I'm just checking it out. I'm not really interested. It's like, the old way we used to teach it, like confronting that. Of course, we don't do that anymore. But I don't want you guys to get sucked in to believing what they're saying when they say things like that. Because they're lies. They're lies. They're just, again, you haven't earned the right for them to actually say, I'm here, I'm desperate, I need your help, you're my last resort. We actually do get people saying that when you get them to open up. But those lies that they're saying, I don't want you to pay any attention to them. I want you to listen to them like, okay, cool, I hear you. Roll on. Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. Because the second you actually believe that they don't really want to be here and they don't really want to fix this problem, your close rate is going to plummet, first of all. And you start to look at that patient differently. Like, oh, they're not going to close. I'm just going to take some shortcuts. They already told me they don't want to plan. That is not
True.
How you achieve a close. You take stock of those comments and then you move on. So the way you handle those is, got it, and moving on. You take mental note of it, but don't pay it any mind, because those are.
I think it comes down to what we talk about, the difference between a complaint and an objection. Right?
Totally.
Now,
Yep.
This is, I know Grant Cardone talks about this. complaint versus objections. We're going to define that tonight. Before Grant Cardone, Brian Tracy called it, it was concerns versus objections. Again, another very, very important sales staple that has been talked about since the beginning of the beginning of time. But we have to determine those things, because what Jen was just talking about, these are patient complaints. They're not objections.
Mm-hmm.
So Jen, walk us through the difference between a complaint and an objection.
Well, a complaint is just like what I went through, which is they're making a statement based on some prior history, some prior knowledge, some prior experience that they have. And an objection would be something that actually stops the process, which we usually don't see on day one. We see that on day two, which is, I can't make this work. I can't afford this. Or those are things you actually have to deal with and come up with a solution for, objection management for, which we go into a great deal on teaching our docs how to do that. But a complaint is just that. It's a statement. It doesn't slow the process down, but an objection is something that actually will stop the process, that you have to stop and address it so that you can move forward. So that's I think the best way I can define that.
Awesome. And then again, so a complaint is same as someone complaining that it's too hot outside, or the temperature of my coffee is too lukewarm. See, nothing you could do about that. Same as a person comes in and says, you know what, I've been to chiropractors before. I don't want to be here forever. Those are just complaints, and they have to just come off your back like a water off a duck's back. So did I get that one right? I usually mess up all of these metaphors.
You stumbled on it.
You got it.
You got it. Good. Pretty awesome.
Long duck tongue.
Thank you.
Oh.
They don't have ducks in my country, so I have to assimilate to the American culture.
No,
okay?
You've eaten them all.
Thank you very much.
Oh yes.
You forgot to do the preemptive. This is not PC. We're gonna curse. We're gonna say something.
Oh yeah. We talked about that. And
That's
by the
just
way,
who we are.
They
Sorry.
saw me on here. I figured that was enough of a disclosure. Oh, that guy's on there again.
Yeah, the hate mail
shit.
that we get is pretty amazing. So the disclaimer is we are not PC. We kind of just shoot at the hip, and we are who we are. And
actually, we're behaving pretty well tonight.
Actually, we're very tame tonight.
You're doing a good job,
frazzled by the fact that I got locked out of my office.
Yeah.
We got Shanna back in the house. Mark Bugney, what's up? Tim Shaw, Cairo Sushi. You guys are rocking.
Cairo Sushi.
Cairo Sushi. You guys are like the coolest thing in chiropractic right now. I'm so proud.
Totally.
Of you. Love what you guys
Seriously.
are doing. All right. So complaints versus objections, very important. So anytime patient says something, you have to determine complaint versus objection. If it's an objection, again, it's something that puts a stop to the process. Like, you know what? I can't do this. I can't pay today. I don't have time to come in. That puts a stop to it. I don't want to, this place is too far away. I don't think, the complaints are things that they're just complaining about. Objections that are things that they put a stop to the close. You have to distinguish those two. Okay. All right. And then what else we got? We got one more thing to talk about before we wrap it up.
Yes. Last thing that I want to talk about is I want you guys to know that the quality of the answers you're getting from your patients depends on the quality of your questions, right? Remember when Dan said earlier, and you touched on this earlier, Dan, that, we have to take responsibility for what our patients say. And if we don't like what they're saying and we don't like the answers we're getting, that's our fault. It's our fault for not asking good questions that will elicit great responses from them.
Yes.
So taking responsibility for that. So there's a few, and I'm just going to run through some basic OPQ or ST questions that a lot of docs use, that we all use to take histories in our office. But understand that there's levels to this, and there's layers to these questions. And this is again what we go into in depth when we do our day 1, day 2 training. But one common question is the right? Onset, right? How long? Here's an example of how a lot of doctors, or how we're taught, right? How long have you had that neck pain? Okay, flat out. Somebody could just give you a straight up answer with no timeline. That's it. They could say 2 years. Okay, 2 years. That's not enough, right? We can go bigger. We can go deeper. We can ask better questions. So when was the very first time you had any kind of neck pain ever? That opens the door. It allows them to think, okay, not just this time, but when was the very, very, very first time? and this is, an opportunity for people to minimize, but you really have to nail down, when was the very first time you ever had any kind of neck pain at all, ever, right? Because we want to, again, timeline them back, get them back as far as we can, thinking about exactly how long they've had it. Again, this gives us better opportunity and better, opportunity on day 2 to get a close. You've had this for 30 years, you were telling me.
And Jen, check it out. I mean, well, how do most patients answer that question? When was it? How long have you had neck pain? How many of you docs out there have heard? I just woke up with it yesterday. That's such crap, man. Let me just tell you, clinically, it's most likely an acute exacerbation of a chronic condition, and we know that clinically, and we know that this is not the first person time they've had it. These people are not doctors. They don't know that symptomatology of a subluxation can evolve over the course of the life of the problem. It could go from asymptomatic to kind of symptomatic to local to general to burning to radicular to electric-like. These things evolve with the same problem. See, they don't know that. And what Jen is saying is so, so, so key. How you ask a question is critical. So again, if you're writing this down, again, this is stuff that docs pay literally thousands of dollars to learn, and we're giving it to you right here. So the question goes like this. Instead of asking, how long you've had that neck pain for, how about we ask, when was the first time you remember having any type of neck pain whatsoever? And that's a much better way to ask it. The other thing you have to understand is that efficiency in the close is just as important as effectiveness in the close, because it's really annoying having to ask the same question over and over again because they don't understand how to answer the question. And that's your fault because we did not plan that out properly.
Your fault.
Your fault.
Yeah,
how about the other one?
Key. I was just going to say, it's not the patients that are lying. It's just that the doctors are failing to ask the question effectively enough to get the information that they need. They just don't know how to answer the question or give you the information that you need because you just don't know how to ask it. So
that's right. It's not their fault. Good. And I'm going to just punctuate this one more time, is that it's not their fault. And then, we sit here and say, oh, the patients are this, the patients are that. And I know we led with a title that they're lying, but, that's marketing, guys. Okay. It's really, it's not their fault. They are there for you to serve them, and you're going to serve them by preparing the proper way to phrase questions so it can be answered accordingly and effectively and efficiently the first time around. I mean,
so there's actually a system, an algorithm to being able to perform a day 1, day 2 properly.
Yeah, who would have thunk? Yeah, and I know I'm not the brightest guy in the room. And Sean, no, I know you're definitely not the brightest.
And you're the only one in that room. You're the only one in that room.
Yeah. I mean, if we can follow an algorithm on how to communicate these things efficiently, it's huge. And our patients feel that. And remember, people buy how you sell, not so much what you sell. And if you take some time and taking some thought on how you would phrase a question like how long we've had a problem, simple medical chiropractic history taking 101, it's very important. So let me give you one more example. How about accidents and injuries? This is a great one because patients minimize this all the time. Because how many times that we ask this question, Sean and Jen, and then the next day they go, oh yeah, you know what? And this is when they're looking at their phase 4 degenerated neck, it looks like one big block. They go, oh yeah,
forgot to tell you
that, 10 years ago, I rolled an ATV, rolled down a cliff, and I hit my head on the bow of the boat. Then the boat's, rope got wrapped around my neck. The boat went in reverse for 4 nautical miles. I mean, it was crazy. How many times do we get that? But that's because we didn't ask the proper question up front. So one way that you can ask is that, hey, Jen, have you had any accidents?
No.
Yeah, that's typical how we ask questions. How about we ask something like this? Jen, were there any accidents that you can recall, whether or not you feel like it's related to why you have neck pain? Were there any falls, I don't know, slips and falls, car accidents, anything? Now you notice the way that's asked, it just broadens the horizon in different things that they could relate to, and it opens up the opportunity for them to give you more accidents and injuries that are more applicable. Okay. All right, hold on a second. We got Tim Farrell joining us. We got Nathan Barbieri. What's up, brother? In case you guys joining us late, we are raffling off 1 hour each of our time, helping you guys walk.
It just became an hour. I love how it just became an hour.
Oh, that hour,
it was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Dan's like,
whatever. However long it takes.
It's 3 hours, whatever you need.
Like 3 hours.
We're here for you.
To go over how to handle certain objections that you have specifically, and we're going to do that at the end. So if you're just joining us, just put in the comments saying you want in on that, and then we will raffle it off at the end. Okay, good. What else we got, guys?
The other
I think
question.
we got it covered, don't we?
Yeah, we have one other question. I want to give people one other question. Often when we're asked about quality of pain, well, what does that feel like? Again, this is a quality question or a non-quality question. What does it feel like? Okay, chronic. Oh, it's fine today, or it's less today. And how many times do you get people that say, oh, well, it wasn't as bad as it was yesterday? Okay, well, yesterday, how bad was it? Or last week, how bad was it? Let's wrap that up. Let's make it efficient and say, instead of, what does it feel like? Say, when it's at its worst. Tell me what it feels like when it's at its absolute worst. Immediately, somebody gets to go back in their mind and think about, oh yeah, when it was at its worst, because that's really what we want to know. Again, that day one, building the case. We want to know how long they've had it. We want to know what it's like at its worst. So not just what does it feel like. So if you're writing it down, when it's at its worst, what does it feel like when this is at its absolute worst? And get them to describe it from that position. That is a much stronger, more emotionally driven position than what does it feel like today? Because it might not be so bad today. It might have been the worst last week, but they couldn't get in to see you. So we want to ask good questions. If I leave you with nothing else tonight, it's that not that patients are trying to evade you, but that you're not asking good enough questions. So that would be the third question to put into your history taking.
Dang,
Chiro history taking.
You're being generous tonight. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
It's gonna come out of your paycheck. All right, cool. All right, excellent. So listen, that's so I want to just recap what we talked about tonight. Remember, these are training. This is not just what we call chiro porn, where you just kind of log in and just have fun and kick back. Number one.
That's a thing. Chiro porn?
That is a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it could be now. Number one is to help build rapport properly. So you set the foundation for good communication, so they trust you enough to be worth the information that they are telling you. Number two is note the minimizers, that if they're minimizing with kind of, maybe, sort of, sometimes, one of the the ninja moves here is, hey Sean, you know what? I kind of need a yes or no answer. It's kind of a doctor thing. I can't go on kind of, maybe, sort of, sometimes. So do you get headaches or do you not? And you put them on the spot, kind of, sort of, not completely confrontational, early on, so that every question they give you thereafter is going to be much more direct. Second thing was complaints versus objections. We covered that, the difference between the two. And the last one we covered is how to phrase your questions so that it gives them the opportunity to elicit a better response. Okay, so those are your training things tonight. Take that to the bag, train on it, watch this a couple of times, because it takes some practice. It all sounds easy when you're listening to someone else do it, until you bring it home, you write it out, you try to say the things that we're trying to teach you, and then you go, oh, it's not that easy, until you practice it, until you can't get it wrong. Okay, all right, cool.
Right.
So I think we're at the point of the drawing. So Kelly, you're out there. In the meanwhile, let's see, you got Morgan Crawley just joining us. Jean-Marc, great nuance, patient history. Hey, thank you very much. And Gary Barker in the house. Bruce Schneider, all-star crew. Carrie Swain, thanks for joining us today. All right, Kelly, who we got? We got to pick three. I can't see. You got
oh my gosh. Rodney McGinley.
Rodney McGinley. Big winner.
Congratulations,
winner chicken dinner.
Rodney.
Awesome. All right, you got number two.
One.
You got Marcos Page, or is it Marcos Bage? Either one.
Marcos, congratulations.
And then we got
it's so hard to see.
Adeline
Gabri.
Awesome. Congratulations, you guys.
Adeline,
so we will be contacting you guys to set that call up for you guys. Congratulations. Always here every other Tuesday Facebook Live. We're just giving away stuff for you guys to take your practices to the next level. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys have any closing words for the crew?
I don't have anything
Good
closing
stuff as
other than
always.
get better. Get better at what you do so that you can serve more people and be more effective.
Awesome. Okay, so just a couple of things to keep in mind. We have our July masterclass happening July 28th, 29th in Stowe, Vermont. It is a destination masterclass, first of its kind. It is on our website at www.closterchiro.com. Check out our next masterclass coming up on the East Coast. Also, for those on the line that are already members of the Holding Tank, we have a reclose, a seminar, a 2-day seminar, all on how to handle the continued care and the maintenance and wellness care in your practices. That's going to happen June 23rd, 24th here in Chicago. Okay, so I think we're all set. Always a blast with you
Good
guys.
stuff.
Thank you so much. And always be closer for chiropractic. Love you guys.
All right.
See you guys.
Later.